Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Passion of Connor, which that title just sounds like Passion of the Christ. So originally I was gonna do Disappearing Act for a Valentine's Day theme episode with Ian and Cassidy, because they dated for a short period of time. And I mean a short period of time, but it wasn't really that much of a romance type thing. And I'm still pissed that that romance didn't last as long as it did. Like they got together in one episode, and then the next they went on their very first date, and then next thing you know, they break up because they all like, oh, we're too different. And it's just kind of like, this show, it is supposed to be like teaching people values, and then in high school, it's supposed to teach people that, hey, when things don't work out, you work on it. You work on relationships to make it work. And then if it don't, then you break up. But they just, like one episode, they just broke them up. Like that was just so bizarre and stuff. And those two brought out, like, they could have brought the best qualities in each other. Because she was starting to turn nicer, and he was still his nerdy geeky want to play video games type stuff, so he'd rather play video games than have to like hold hands with a girl. But one thing he did say is that he's a ranger and he can't have time for relationships. True, but other rangers have kind of done that, so whatever. And so like then I watched this episode and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. Connor like falls in love with Krista. And but then that wasn't really much of a romance thing, but it had a Bowlizer in it, the debut of it. And so I did say I was gonna start doing Bowlizer type episodes and crossovers and this and that. So I'm like, okay, might as well do this one then. And the Bowlizer is a very important tool in a Red Ranger's arsenal. It gives them much greater strength. However, most fans feel like they're reliant on it. I don't think they're necessarily relying on it. It's just the viewers know that, hey, we like it and we want to see more of it because they're awesome. And I hate when they are sparingly used, like when they rarely used and stuff. Because you want to see it used more often, because sometimes those suits are very nicely constructed. And the Triacid Bowlizer is a very nice looking suit. However, one interesting thing about this is that I remember being confused because I thought his Triassic armor was his Bowlizer, I assume, until they pointed out, no, it's not. Because the Triacid thing is part of the Sentai, and they didn't really do Bowlizers at that time until like the next season and stuff, and they rarely use them. And so like his Triacid suit is amazing looking, and I love like the shield, and I love his Zord and stuff like that. So anyways, they did like a marathon on Disney, because this is a Disney owned property, being the second one. And so they did this marathon of all the Bowlizers ever like shown on Power Rangers, and then leading up to this one, the most newest one of them all, because Connor is starting to have doubts and everything. He's not sure he's just not sure of himself as a ranger and stuff. But many rangers have went through that and everything. And so that was a nice episode to reflect on that, even though they did it very, very, very briefly. The thing about Connor is that he is very cocky. He thinks he's all that. He thinks he's the best at soccer. He thinks he's the best ladies man. And I always wonder, why in the world is he Red Ranger for? Like, he's just too cocky and everything. But his arrogance and cockiness does make for him being very determined to beating like the bad guys and stuff. And so it helps out with that. But still, it's just kind of weird that he would become like the Red Ranger. But of course, in this season, all you have to literally do is like find like a gem, touch it, and then boom, you're a Power Ranger and stuff. It ain't like nothing's like destined to be or nothing like that. So it could have been anybody. And of course, this is when they brought in Jason David Franks. He said he was brought in to save the franchise. I don't know about that. Like, did he even watch the later seasons of like the Fox Kids Power Rangers? I know I don't like Wild Forest, but you know, Ninja Storm was pretty freaking awesome, except for all that comedy that they infused into it. And but people had problems because they didn't understand if it connected to the bigger Power Rangers universe because they assumed Power Rangers were fake until Dustin proved that they are wrong. And so that explanation right there is all people needed. But they said they brought him in to like save the series. So whatever. But you know how he has an ego and everything. Like, I will say this about the dude. I've always liked Tommy. Tommy is my favorite Ranger. But I feel like when he became the Black Ranger, this was like JDF's best acting and everything, playing that mentor role and everything. And I was very shocked that he became a mentor, but you know, it makes sense. He is the legendary ranger and everything. He has held the most power. But I was still shocked to find out he became a teacher. Cause this dude was always forgetting like his books and stuff when he was a Green Ranger. So the fact that he became a professor, that's just like something. And everything. But this really was his best acting to date and everything. Sometimes when he did the ADR in this, it kind of he went a little overboard and putting too much emphasis on stuff. But like other than that, like he was just cool. And my God, I like the man. I love the man as like green, white, and all those Red Rangers. But this power up as the Black Ranger when he was at his most boss level. The Sentai footage for the Black Ranger is something to behold. When he's wielding his Brachio staff, boy, I love the CGI on those power effects and everything, and the fighting scenes they had him in was like something. I felt like I was watching The Matrix. It wasn't slowed down. You know what I'm saying? It was that awesome. And then of course when they brought in the White Ranger, that was just another rehash of like an evil Power Ranger. And it kind of went on for a little too long. Then they finally stopped it. And then they brought in that clone Evil Ranger, which I'm just like, why, you know? But anyway, so in this episode, also JDF is the only American in this show. Everybody else is from New Zealand, and Ethan is from Canada. And so yeah, this is when they slowly tried to bring in other people from other countries, but then they went back to like, you know, well, SPD had like a nice blend and everything, and I actually don't even think there was no Kiwi Power Rangers in SPD other than like the Doggy Kruger and Cat Max and stuff. I think everybody else was either American or Canadian and stuff. And then of course with Mystic Force and everything else, they went back to like, you know, the New Zealand cast and Australian cast and stuff like that. So anyway, Connor. Oh, Connor is also related to Alfred from the Adam West Batman series. Dude, I miss that Alfred. I miss all the Alfreds. 3 of them are dead. That's not fair, man. Anyways, so Connor's at school. He meets this girl named Krista. Now, Krista is played by Antonia Preble. And she played Claire in Mystic Force. Threw me off with that blonde hair. But she was also the voice of Nova Ranger in SPD. I wish they would have had more Nova. Boy, when I saw that costume, I'm like, man, give me some more Nova. And so, yeah. So she's been in 3 different Power Ranger series. That's like awesome, you know? And so she just plays like a regular person who's like not eco-terrorist. That's Poison Ivy. She's one of those like activists and everything. And they're gonna chop down a tree, and she's very passionate about that. So Connor, seeing that she's passionate about it, he pretends like he's passionate about it, all because he's trying to get with her and stuff. Well, he ends up blowing it because when he's talking to Ethan, Ethan's all like, you ain't into this tree loving crap. And he's all like, I know, but you know, she just has to pretend like I am. And she's right behind when they say that. So of course she's furious at him and doesn't want to talk to him. And so it turns out Dylan is like very passionate about saving the trees too, which pisses off Cassidy. And it's weird that Cassidy and Ethan didn't have no screen time together in this episode. It's just like that whole relationship. What was the point of it if they wasn't gonna go forward with it? You know, they don't even want to talk afterwards. And so like he's tied up to the tree and they're protesting. Well, Mesogog, I always liked Mesogog as like a villain. He had a cool look. His voice was cool, but sometimes he talked just too slow. And so, but he was cool. Like he was very theatrical and stuff, and he was American made for the show. And Elsa, man, I love that actress. She is like a great actress. I don't know who's the greatest American like person there is, actress there is, but like she's like the New Zealand equivalent of that. You know what I'm saying? And so like she's been in like everything, even Dancing with the Stars and celebrity boxing. But oh, sadly, she got her butt kicked in celebrity boxing. She can look cute, but she can't fight. And so so she's the principal and she's trying to get people away from the tree and this and that. Why? Mesogod wants the like serum nectar that's inside the tree because it stores the fountain of youth. And Zeltrax wants that. I think it's Zeltrax. Yeah, Zeltrax wants that. He's been badly injured by like the Black Ranger and an explosion, and Mesogod doesn't want nothing to do with him no more. And so he wants it to restore his powers and go back to that Uber mode and stuff. So at some point in time, I I see Dylan is tied to the tree, and he tells him he's like just draining the tree for his like stuff, but he's weak. You know what I'm saying? And he tells like that dude like, oh, tell the Power Rangers I'm back and blah 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 and stuff like that. And so when he's freed, Elsa comes in, so they fight and everything, and she gets her butt kicked. And so he gets scared and he finally runs away. And he tells like everybody in like the little hangout spot what happened. This alerts the Power Rangers and they go trying to see what's going on. Well, they get attacked by Triptoids. Now, Triptoids are the main foot soldiers in the Sentai, and they only appear in like 8 episodes because their main one are the Pteranodrones. I like the Pteranodrones better. They look better, and plus they're American made, and they was the last American made foot soldiers. My problem with Dino Thunder is that sometimes, see, they try to do a lot more American stuff, American made stuff, even though it's in New Zealand, but just like SPD did. Disney's not happy about that because they wanted to go that cheap Saban Fox Kids route. So they had to tie in a lot of the Sentai with the fighting battles and this and that. And of course the Triptoids are there. And so like that would made the show very uneven and very unbalanced because it's kind of like, yo, what's going on? It's like you bring in these like animal raptor type robot things for the Rangers to ride on, which looks silly and ridiculous. And then they only show up for like 1 or 2 episodes. And then you bring in the Triptoids and then you don't bring them in no more. And then it's just kind of like, why? It didn't make no sense to me at that time until I found out why and stuff. So sometimes bringing in the Sentai when you try to do your own thing didn't always work out well. But they had to use that cheap footage and stuff. And so as they're all morphed and they fight, this is what pisses me off. The White Ranger sat by at the headquarters because he had only help if they needed help, which I hate when they do that to additional Rangers. He's the 5th additional Ranger, which is weird, knowing that the additional Ranger is a 5th one. And so like and also the 4th Ranger was too. That's just weird, but it was nice that they changed things up, so he's just watching everything and they're fighting, but for some reason the Triptoids are more juiced up, which, okay, what's the normal Triptoid and if you only have them in a couple of episodes? So Tommy, for whatever reason, said like touch their chest and then absorb their energy and then use your Dino Gem to like take away their power and blow them up, some crap like that. I'm just like, when has that ever happened in the past? Y'all just beat them normally. But of course, that's the Sentai for you. So this is why sometimes the Sentai is not always a good thing to add into the show. And so, I forget kind of like what happened at that. But they bring in the evil White Ranger and stuff, the clone version. And so you think, whatever the White Ranger's dude name is, he would go and he would try to fight that dude, but not yet. And so what's his name? Zeltrax has he turned the tree evil and everything, and it's nothing but like a puddle of like his juice watery stuff. And so the Rangers, they're going in their Zords and they're going to fight the giant tree, which always pissed me off about Tommy because his Zord is just a carrier Zord. I'm like, no man, turn that into a Megazord. And so he calls on his Triassic power, which I love that suit, and his Zord, and then he finally assembles the Triceramax whatever Megazord thingy. And it's a nice design, I gotta say. And so Krista, being who she is, she went to go check on the tree. And so like, but of course Zeltrax is there in his Uber mode, and he ain't letting nobody get his juices. And so like, when Connor finds out, he goes to save her. Now, Connor, like I said, has been having doubts, and he talked to Tommy. Tommy gave him some pretty good advice. Talking about, you remind me of myself when I was your age, and because Tommy had doubts when he was like the Zeo Ranger and stuff. And then so, Connor, he's like, for whatever reason, he demorphed from Triassic mode and went his regular mode, and then he just started like fighting him and stuff. Well, of course, Zeltrax Uber mode is just too powerful for him. And Krista's in like extreme danger, and Zeltrax is crawling up like a mountain and everything. And so Connor takes the advice of what Tommy says, and then he tells him, Triassic, which is like the next step of your powers and super dino mode and everything. And, once you tap into your full potential, you'll be unstoppable. So he's all like, now's a good time. So then next thing you know, he powers up, and it's a nice transformation. It's in real time. First, he goes into his super dino mode, and then he goes into his Triassic mode, but he doesn't use the powers of like the other Rangers to activate his Triassic mode. So that's kind of weird. But then after that, his Battleizer appears, and then he morphs into the Triassic Battleizer Ranger. And it's a nice suit. When he's in Triassic mode, it goes from like a cotton suit to that of, well, I doubt Disney's gonna buy silk, but they probably use polyester. And so it's like they changed like the fabric of it. And then it's like all this armor all around, like his chest piece. It's the Triassic like helmet and everything. Man, Hasbro needs to get on this crap, man. They're taking their sweet precious time. I want some Dino Thunder stuff. And then so his arms and legs are like these little vacuum tube looking things that are black. Why? Because he has the ability to stretch and everything, like Mr. Fantastic. So he saves Krista with his long arms and everything, and then he just whoops on Zeltrax and everything. And I love the transformation in like the Battleizers. They're a whole lot better in like, the Disney era than they ever were in like the Fox Kids era. And the sad part is when they transform it's always CGI, and then the final maneuver is always CGI too. But what, he's whooping on him with long arms and long legs and just kicking the crap out of him. And then like two of his finishers is like a dragon yo-yo. I always thought that was a stupid name. I'm like, what is that? But it's a yo-yo. In the form of a dragon, but fire. And that's just awesome. Then he calls on his cannons, which just look amazing. And he blasts the crap out of that dude. And stuff. And I love this Battleizer form. Like, I'm telling you, the Battleizer was so much better in like the Disney era and stuff. Until they stopped having them. I'll get into that much later, and I'll go more into Battleizers and stuff. And so like it pretty much ends, and he said something very sweet and sincere to Krista, and she feels like it's actually he's being sincere for the first time and stuff, other than just trying to like, get with her and stuff. And we don't see her again until the finale. But this was a cool Battleizer like type episode. It's somebody who doubt who they were, and then when their loved one, or not necessarily his loved one, but his love interest was in danger, he went like a boss and everything, and did what a hero was supposed to do. And it caused him to like tap into his inner strength. And I love that, it's like the power of love always prevails, Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.